Ah, so it does work. I think so, right? Am I here? Can you guys hear me? Hey everyone, how's it going? It's been a long time. It's been a long time. I think the last time I did a stream was back in December. Just been very, very busy. Developing stuff, making the game, I suppose. I feel like the black background is a little bit uninteresting, so I'll put some random stuff up in the background. Just so there's something to look at, rather than just me. Ah, yes. I did make that animation channel, and that catch-up video actually took a long time to make, but there will be a new video coming out in like 3 weeks or something, whenever that's finished. So yes, I'll talk about the YouTube videos later, why I made that. There was a strategy involved. It wasn't just that I just wanted to sort of start doing an animation channel in my spare time. It's a little bit more than that. So the updates actually have been a little bit slow, I feel, in the past month, and that's because of the ARMS, right? We had that vote. Thank you for everybody who participated in the ARMS vote, and we did that, but I kind of knew that it would take forever to finish, but we have finished it now. So we have the patch tomorrow on Friday, and the ARMS will be in the game. I can't promise that there will be no bugs, but you know, the ARMS will be in, and so we had to do a bunch of animations, and this is like a render, obviously, but I'll show you guys some videos in a second. My bun is just a result of COVID, right? Because I just haven't been outside very much and haven't been able to cut my hair. Like, I shaved the side of my head myself, and I'm surprised that I haven't completely ruined my hair, but I haven't been able to cut the top because I don't have, you know, it's impossible for me to cut myself. I'll just show you, you know, some fun footage that we have, and I'll also play the game a little bit, like the version that'll be out tomorrow. And I will try and stream more often, because I do feel that, I mean, I've been saying that since forever, but I do feel that I'm much happier streaming on YouTube because I'm here all the time. I mean, as in I watch too much YouTube in my spare time, not as in I'm actually making videos all the time. And so I'm a little bit more confident being on YouTube versus Twitch. So here's a side-by-side comparison. I am on this ultra low latency mode on YouTube, so hopefully I can actually read stuff immediately. Alana, thank you for your patience. I mean, it is true that we should always try to not release broken games. I get a little bit upset when things get buggy, you know, and I just wish that the kind of development speed could be faster. But in the next month or two, we'll have a lot more actual gameplay features, because at the moment, most of what we have is aesthetic in nature. Because, well, if we didn't do the ARMS now, we will just never be able to add it in, right? So that's why we kind of delayed the game a little bit with this ARMS situation. Because if we don't add it, then later on we have all of the animations, we have to create a new rig, you know, and I think we probably all agree that if we have the ARMS in now, the game kind of looks complete, right? Because we had the kind of potato character before with no legs. I think the legs was a good addition, and then we remade the rig, and then we added the arms, and then we remade the rig again. So a lot of the animations had to be redone. Harry, my personality isn't that hype, you know. You know, I always feel bad streaming because every time I see Twitch streamers, you know, they're always so high energy. I don't know where they get it from. They're just hyperactive and high energy, and you know. So I always feel that, you know, I'm under a lot of pressure to like perform or something. But yeah. I'll just play this animation. I don't know why I'm not playing it. So, to be honest, the left animation is a lot more finished than the right one. So the animation without arms is a lot more finished and polished. The characters lost a little bit of weight. We had to do that because otherwise the arms just, you know, the arms just wouldn't fit around the body otherwise. So we had to do that. And also just keep in mind that on the right hand side, the character is also not entirely finished, but it's like 90% there. And it is working in the game. Oh, so if we loop this, it like resets the screen. Okay, so I'll keep it this size then for now. So this is the front view. I will be showing it also in the game, by the way, because it is actually implemented in the game. Like this is and like an in-progress version comparison from a few days ago. We always do it in black and white, in grayscale, as I say, because you guys are obsessed with the color wheel. That set us back a lot, the color wheel. But once again, if we didn't do the color wheel, we wouldn't very easily be able to do it later on. And I have a lot of sympathy for The Sims, by the way, on this, because I know people ask for color wheels and things like that on The Sims, and you know, you don't have it in a lot of areas of the game. I haven't played The Sims though in a few months, so you can tell me if I've missed any updates, but it's very difficult to add, you know, sophisticated color wheels after you've completed the full game. So I feel as if we've lost, we haven't lost time, but we've delayed sort of gameplay features for, you know, the for the arms and the color wheel. But yeah, the color wheel is doing pretty well, I think. So, oh, is it bugged out? Oh no. Yeah, so that's why it's you know, it's taking a while. But all of this is finished now, so we can just move on to greater and better things. Yeah. So Playful Dead. You're right. Yeah, the kind of the right hand side is a little bit less polished, but I think the arms overall do still look better. There is also, you know, like a weight loss, as I say, between the characters, but you know, that was mandatory because otherwise the arms would just kind of be doing this half the time. You can't fit the arms in. Yeah. So I'll try and respond to most of the comments of as much as I can. Maxi asks about the foods. So I'll show you all the foods actually. I mean, why not? That's what I'm here for. So, well, this isn't even making it look like we've done very much, but this is, you know, okay. So the old foods actually look a lot worse than this. We kind of picked the best looking ones. You know, we're supposed to show the bad ones. I should do some shout outs, to be honest, because the animations was done by Pedro. He's the animator on the team, and also Ronald, the artist, is the one who did all the art you see here. So, you know, so it is a team effort. You know, I'm not the only one. I didn't make all of this, so you know, credit should be given where it is due. And their chibis will be going up on the website soon. So it makes so it looks like it's a more complete team. But yeah, so here's some of the foods. Actually, we actually did remake this again. Oh Yeah, we just do so many remakes. Like for example, a great example is like the fried egg. I didn't like how it was, like it's kind of like splashed in the pan, right? And it's not round. I thought it wasn't very cute, so then I said to Ronald, hey, you know, I wanted some improvements on that. So let me see if I can find a version of that. Oh yeah, no. I think I did show that on Patreon though. So some of you guys here may not have seen it. So I will find it. So if I'm looking to the left of the screen, that's just a different monitor. So when I'm doing this, you know, I'm looking at a different screen. Yeah. So we did work with the egg, and that was the first one he made, and I just thought like this would be cuter. So yeah, and the outlines are thicker as well to be more in line with the rest of the game. However, I do feel that does that just like switch on its own? All right, but this thickness is more in line with the game, but I feel like it's probably still not correct because it's now a little bit too thick. But you know, I'm getting close to the final versions basically. Yeah, I mean, it's for the color wheel. Sorry if I just go on a tangent. It's just I'm just trying to respond to some comments. Because by the way, just ask me any questions you want, because I think this is a good opportunity just to ask any questions. I'm happy to answer any of them. Sometimes I'm not very elaborate on the Discord because you know, I might be working or it's very difficult to give more elaborate answers. And there are very good questions asked, but it's just very difficult to give like paragraph answers to every question. And sometimes it's like the same question get asked many times on Discord. So I get slightly fed up, but I shouldn't, but I do sometimes. But I try to reply to the best of my ability. So the foods, we'll be like releasing these foods on Twitter, you know, slowly over time. And I'll try and release these images. And there's a lot more food that's been made, and just keep in mind this is not the absolute final version, because like for example, we actually improved the shading on this Coke can. It's a little bit dark, and the same for the chocolate bar. And we're making fish right now. We're remaking the fish so that all of the newer art is a little bit more in line with what we have now. Because the older art is just, I don't want to say a lot worse, but just not quite up to the standard that I would have liked. So, to answer the question about the Switch version of the game, I mean, obviously we're not making it now, so we aren't making any ports at the moment. But it feels to me that it's an inevitability that the game has to come out on Switch and on mobile. I think that's, for me personally, like a non-negotiable part of the deal, right? Because it's just quite suitable for these consoles. And me personally, I'm a big fan of the Switch. I play my Switch a lot. Monster Hunter Rise, really good game. Obviously different genre, you know, to what we're making, but very good game. That's the most recent one I've played a little bit. But the mobile version will not be the same as the Switch or PC. Like the gameplay will be fundamentally different. It'll be free to play, the mobile version. And the way the design will be fundamentally different, but it won't be a massive cash grab, so don't worry about that. So obviously there will be in-game purchase for the free-to-play version on mobile, but it won't be like a crazy kind of pay us or you can't play it. There won't be like ridiculous stuff like that and ads and all that stuff. We just won't be doing that. So long term, we are looking forward to a Switch and mobile version, but it will take some time to get those out. Yeah. And Amazing ASMR asks, will we be able to use all these items in this game? Sorry, I'm laughing because of the name. I shouldn't laugh, but some of the usernames are very creative. Oh, you know what? I actually, you know, Little SimWorld was not even supposed to be the name of our game. It was supposed to be like a placeholder because I couldn't figure out a better name for the game at the time. And this decision was made like a year and a half ago. And we just haven't come up with a better name, so we just stuck with it. I just feel like even a little symbol, the name is a little bit uncreative, but you know, there we are. Just but so I need to stop doing that. So yes, all of these foods will be edible in game. So the vast majority of what you see that I show you guys, it's all usable in game, and they are independent from each other, and they will act differently. So all of the foods can be eaten here, and they require different recipes, and they all do fundamentally different things. And based on what diet preference you choose, or you can choose no preference, it will give you different bonuses. You know, because I mean, the diet system is a big part of the game. In terms of food, it's just food preference. It's not even called diet anymore. We renamed it to food preference because I didn't want diet to make it sound like we're trying to make people lose weight or something. It's more like favorite foods. And if you have a favorite food or preferred diet, I think was what we call it. Yeah, So what you eat will give you different buffs. You won't really be penalized very much for eating random foods. It's just more that different foods will give you different bonuses. And the cooking system, that will probably come in like 2 months time, like 2.5 months, 3 months, probably closer to 2.5. And there'll be recipes for that. So let's close this. Let's open something else. Show some more revised foods. So these are, sorry, I'm just trying to think of this in terms of gameplay because the art has been changed so much. I'm just trying to catch up with this kind of game design aspect of this. So we have egg. This is just called, I think in game right, it's just called egg. Or is it called raw egg? I don't know. I think this is just egg or raw egg. And then there's fish, right? So it's like a raw fish, and then there's meat. Yeah, I think it's just called egg. I don't know if we need an adjective in front of it, but I think egg is fine. You know, egg, fish, meat, vegetables. This is a salad. This is, I think, in the wrong section though, because in the game you have like raw ingredients that you cook into food. And these are supposed to be the raw ingredients, but I think this salad is wrong here because you mix 2 sets of vegetables to make a salad basically, right? And this is not supposed to be an ingredient. This is like a finished product, I think. Maybe Michelle has been sneaking in designs without telling me because he does that sometimes. But yeah, so that's that. And then you have. Oh yeah, so this is bread. Okay, all right, so I get it. Okay, so because it's new art, it's throwing me off a little bit. So the left, I think this is just called bread. This is literally just called bread again, bread. And then the second one is called toast. And the third one is cheese on toast. Except I think this cheese looks a little bit unmelted. I don't know what's going on here. We may need changes. But yeah, no, I think we need adjustments to this art. But yeah, this is supposed to be cheese on toast, and then this is egg on toast. So you know, so the idea is, you know, if you cook a bread on its own, you get this. If you cook bread with dairy, you get this, and if you cook egg plus bread, you just get this. It does look like butter, but it was there's no butter in the game right now, so it doesn't. Yeah, so that doesn't make any sense. But we will put these things in. The idea is that if you mix any ingredients together, you always get something. So I don't want people to have like memorize ingredients like some kind of survival game where you kind of like mix and max ingredients properly, like and memorize all of them. I don't like that. The way it works is if you just mash any two items together, like for example, if you mash like meat and fish, you get mixed soup or something like that. I forget, but if you mix any two ingredients together, you will get something that is reasonably edible, you know, and provide some benefit as long as you finish cooking it. So that makes it a little bit easier to play. Alana asks, is there a grocery store you can visit to buy ingredients? The answer is yes. There's the, I think we showed that on Twitter already, right? The grocery store. Yeah, it's a shop that you can buy ingredients. Let me see if I can pull up Twitter for a second. I'm actually sitting in this very, very awkward position because my main monitor has a weird resolution. So if I try and stream on it, there's like 2 massive black bars. And so I'm streaming on my second monitor. So like I'm sat in this weird, awkward position. That's actually a little bit uncomfortable. But it's okay. My posture is really bad when I'm sitting. I don't know if you've all noticed, but I think it's bad for my back. So I'm trying to improve on that over time. It's easy to say though, and I always forget, so I always revert back to my old postures. Okay, so I'll move this here. Ooh, cool. Okay, so this is a grocery store. Obviously, this is with the old art. Wow, this is so old. Is there a date here? Yeah, so November. So you can see the old characters, like it's just a round potato, right? And it's kind of cute, like a bowling pin. People have said that, I think. But yeah, so this is a grocery store. There's a lot that we've done that we haven't added into the game. We just want to get things right before we do that. And this is the old art. If you can see the old art, it's just a little bit like simpler, right? Like the angle's a little bit different, and the art style is a little bit simpler. And this is the old UI as well. Keep in mind, like we've improved the UI a little bit over time, and we will do iterations over time to improve on the UI. So yes, we have a grocery store. If you just think to the real world and think about what shops there are, like major things like pubs, restaurants, supermarkets, like a salon, they're all in the game, right? So if you just, not like the cinema isn't in the game. There are a few things that aren't. But things like, computer stores, gardening stores, like all of these things will come to the game over time, if not art has already been completed for them already, like the furniture store. A lot of these have been done already. It's just, we're biding our time. What's the phrase? I'm biding my time for a massive attack. Sorry. my jokes, like I'm going to be the only person laughing at my own jokes. They're not even funny. Oh gosh. It's like my childhood of watching too much like out-of-date anime from like the 90s or something. It's like sounds like a Dragon Ball Z reference. Oh, weather is in the game now, by the way. I think in the newest version. Oh, I don't know if weather is in the game in the public build. But we added weather. So we've only added 2 so far. Michelle did really well in the particle system. So we've added clouds, like cloudy weather. There's normal weather, cloudy weather, and then there's rain. I don't know if the sunny weather is in the game yet, but we are adding all of them in. So, where are we? Okay, let me check. Okay, so John asks, well, not a question, he's just mentioning. The Sims 2 Castaway. I really love The Sims on the DS. Did anybody play that? Right? Like, it was like a single player game, or they're all single player. When I think of The Sims, I always feel like it should be multiplayer. Of course, it's single player. The single player Sims game, stating on the obvious there, where you could only play as one character, right, in The Sims, and this was so many years ago on the DS. Yeah. Yeah, and I love that version. I love the handheld version of The Sims a lot, even though the game was a lot simpler. But it felt more RPG-like, and I've always had a big fan of like RPGs. So, that I really like that. So, right, I'm gonna try and answer some of these questions. Sorry, I'm just in my own world here. Your character can get food poisoning, but very rarely. That's mostly if you don't cook your food properly, but it will only happen rarely. We're not the sort of fundamental philosophy behind the game. It sounds deep, fundamental philosophy, but it is a kind of philosophy about the game, is that we don't want to punish players, so the game will be very chill. Like, you can't just stand there and just chill, right? And the needs won't drain as fast as in The Sims. Well, we call it well-being, but really player needs. Like the 8 bars that you have, right? The well-being. But we'll reward the player substantially for playing the game right. So if you just want to chill and just do your thing, right? We're not going to say, oh, now you're food poisoned because you didn't cook the food properly. Like there will be punishment, but it won't come too often, right? Mostly it's more about trying to give you guys rewards and collectibles and just having a good time, right? So players who play well will just get rewarded a little bit more, and if you don't play well, you'll just make a slower progression, right? So you won't, and I won't be doing like a bunch of events that you'll miss if you don't time properly, but they will require a lot of work to get to, right? So there will be events that will take a lot of time and effort to get those rewards, but if you fail them, we won't say, oh, now you've missed it, it's gone forever. That's not the kind of gameplay we're looking for in the game. So I don't want people to feel pressured when they're playing. It's just about having fun, right? That's how I feel. There will be Steam achievements. Yes, I'm a big achievement hunter on the PlayStation. I'm a big fan of platinum trophies. Being a big fan of that for a while. So there will be achievements, and there will be fishing. So there's originally we wanted to add the River Thames. I mean, we will add it, but it will be down the line. That was the first river we wanted to add, but we realized that it's too far away. Just for reference, for those of you that don't know, the map was inspired by my university days back in London. When I was young, once upon a time, I'm like an old folk. I'm so old. I'm so old. But when I was 18, right? I went to London. Went to university in London, and the area of Little Simworld is actually where I went to university, at University College London. I studied physics there. That part isn't important. And I am very nostalgic towards that area of London around Euston, around Bloomsbury. And so this is almost like a nostalgic recreation of like my university days, which I really enjoyed. So, I'm trying to be faithful to the London vibe, even though, of course, it's not entirely really, like, it's not a one-to-one carbon copy, because we need our own creativity and we want our own style, but it is still a faithful kind of recreation of what it feels like to be in London around that area. Although the Little Sim one is a little bit more colourful. London sometimes can be a little bit grey. Not as grey as New York, but London can be a little bit grey at times. But yes, so that's the kind of philosophy behind all of this. And John asks about, oh, I'm so behind in the chat. John asks about the nuts and cereal and so yeah, so that would make sense. So on this, like, if you had nuts and you had milk, it would just make a bowl of cereal. It would, yeah. But we don't have nuts in the game yet as a raw ingredient, so we'd have to add that. So I'll take that too. I'm very careful about adding too many raw ingredients, because if everything makes something, then the more ingredients you have, the more permutations you have, and the more complicated the system gets. So we'll have to have some different recipes make the same food, which is unfortunate, but otherwise you just get a billion kinds of food, and that gets a little bit complicated. Lou asks, will the game have any type of money, dollar for example? This question has been asked a lot, by the way, and I think it's understandable that people ask this question, because you would rather have your own local currency. That's usually how people think, right? That's not a bad thing, it's just like natural, but since the game is set in London, it just wouldn't make sense to be using the dollar in London, right? That's why we have the pound sign everywhere, because it's in London, so it just makes sense that we're using the pound. So that unfortunately won't be changeable. I mean, if enough people insist that we need to add a different symbol, I'm happy to do that. But I'm just kind of giving my thoughts on it. You know, I'm okay adding other things, but it just makes sense for, you know, the game to just have the pound. Here's another image of the house. I mean, this is something that patrons, you guys probably have already seen. But I just want to make a comment on this, that we are adding more wallpapers, so you can see these new wallpapers. They're a little bit more interesting, a little bit more, what's the right word I'm looking for? Let's just stick with interesting. I can't think of a better phrase for now, but yeah, it's just a little bit more interesting, a bit more elaborate, you know, and a little bit more personality. Right, didn't find the word I was looking for, but you know, there we go. So we're adding more floorboards, as you can. I think the floor here is new. Tina was the one that did this. She's doing fantastic tiling systems. Oh, and the walls are thinner. Sorry, the walls are thinner here. So we are working on thinner walls. Right, this will take some time, but eventually we'll have thinner walls as well. You get a choice. You get the thick wall and you get the thin wall, and I feel like the thin wall I like it more. I like the thin one more. Exactly, yeah. The tiling is important, I feel, because, you know, if you just get a bunch of bland slated, you know, colors, yeah, we want some colorful builds, you know. And so the color wheel, by the way, you know, took so much time, right? I'm doing this for you guys. All this personal sacrifice to deliver this. No, but to be honest, no, I really wanted the color wheel as well. That's a big part of what I wanted too, because I felt that, you know, if you can't even recolor your furniture, is this really a sim game? I felt that we had to have it. But some of the recolors are a bit I'm not happy with. Like, you know, this chair, right? You've got the central thing here with a unique color. You know, some of the recolors could be better, but you have to give me some time to work on better recolors. Like, I'm just not happy with the toilet. It's just, you know, like who has a red toilet or like a cyan toilet at home? I actually have like a screen filter on, so my color accuracy isn't very high. So when I quote colors, I might be off, right? So on my screen, this looks like it's teal or cyan, and it's just, you know, I just don't feel like this looks that good. And I'm trying to get the color map to recolor so that, you know, you get something that actually looks good. And there's no point in recoloring if all the recolors look bad. There is the wheel though, so you can pick your own color, and there are presets, and you can save the presets, right? I think that's been implemented. So yeah, you can even have your own presets and save those. But just keep in mind, when the gameplay does hit the game, you can't just recolor things at will. You have to pay money for all of it, and you need to level your DIY to paint it yourself. So you can't just, you know, have a whole house of orange after 10 seconds. You know, it takes a lot of time to do all this DIY and earn all of this furniture, you know, when the gameplay comes in. So yeah, that's one of, I think we do have a couple of walls, a few more tiles. Yeah, so these are some more tiles. We just have, it's still the old character, but I feel a very large weight off my shoulders now that the arms are in the game, because it just felt like it took forever. It took like a month, I think, of just so many reiterations. We had to remake the clothes as well, so that took a long time. If you can see, like, the recolor for this bath looks pretty good, right? I think, because we've actually redid the recolor for a lot of, so the last image was an older version, this is a newer version, where we've tried to improve the recolor, so you can actually get some nicer colors, which kind of makes sense. So the wooden one, I'm a big fan, and we have to get different textures as well, because it's no good just to have a color, but you also want texture, right? Like, you can have like wood or marble or just different sort of textures on furniture. So that's pretty important. Yeah, there will be a lot of unlocks in the game. So what you see here is pretty endgame. I mean, the furniture isn't endgame, but the recolors and all of this will take a lot of time to get, right? Because that's part of the game. You know, you want to have a meaningful progression system that you feel like you are improving your character, etc. So all of this will take quite a bit of time to get to. Have to work a lot in the game. Career system, which is coming soon, very, very soon. For the moment, Lele asks, will there be children and an aging process? For the moment, I think children is something that we absolutely have to have, but the aging process I'm struggling a lot with, because if we do that, it breaks the timelines, and this will be something that I have to look into later, because the aging system is very, very complex to add well. It's very easy just to add it, but it's very hard to add it well, and it may break RPG features, right? So for the moment, I'm still leaning towards no on aging, unfortunately. But I do want the characters' children to be able to grow to like teenager, I think. I'm not sure about allowing them to grow to adults, because it will just be very difficult to implement. But this will be down the line though. So all of this will be on, we'll have patron votes on this. So, you know, you can always let me know your opinion later down the line. Yes, so personal items you can hang on the wall. So we will allow you to just to upload your own image. You know, like you can do like a PNG and upload it yourself into the game and just slap it on the wall. That's fine, right? But to do that, it's going to be very expensive in game. Like, we won't just allow people to put infinite memes on the wall. You will have to go through some process to be able to get each image up. So it's not so it does feel like a substantial reward to get like a personalized image in there. So you will later on be able to, you know, upload your own images and stuff like that. And at work, you will get awards from work if you do well, like a little trophy or certificate that you can put on your wall. You know, like your own. When we formally add in university degrees, when you get those degrees, you can put them on your wall. So there are various achievements that you can get. You later be able to put, you know, on your table, on your wall as decorative items. So that's expected, I think. So I think I will play the game maybe a little bit. That'll be good, right? Yeah, that's a good idea. I have a build that will be released tomorrow, I think. Hopefully it works. What the game works is just hopefully the stream works. Okay. So it loads. That's fine. I'm always paranoid about things breaking on stream because it's taking me ages to fix it. I don't really want you guys to sit here watching me fix bugs on stream. Yeah. So okay, let's. Yeah, we tweaked with some like UI elements recently, and still a little bit broken, but you know it's better than it was. So there's that. Obviously, check out our Patreon if you haven't. You know, this version will be out tomorrow, and I'll delete this for now. So just keep in mind the arms are not finalized, but they are working. So this will be an idle animation later on. Right now it's just, I don't know, we just haven't finished it. It's like a static version of the character, but we will have an idle animation playing here in the future. That's, yeah, the plan. So he's not just statically standing here. I'll try and make one that looks like me a little bit. None of them do, so alright. This is gonna take a while, but I'll just settle on that's alright. let's go with this one. Yeah, let's just go with this one. Yeah. Oh, a lot of this took a long time to do. Every time I look at some of these features, some of this took just forever to get into the game because of some bug or other. We had to remake a lot of things, like the shoes, for example. So these are, I think, are the pre-picked colors. Like for example, you can here, if you use the color wheel to do a color, right, it will just save it. So I felt like this was a feature I'm very, very proud of. You know, very proud of this one. The shoes now are bigger than they were before, just because of the new way we did things. We only have, okay, so we are on the way of making more shoes. It's just not enough, but it is a good starting point. That's red. Do people wear a lot of red shoes these days? I think I own one pair of red shoes and I never wear them because I feel like they're ugly. But we go with it here. It's okay. So there will be more hairs, by the way, so don't worry about asking questions about hair. There aren't, in my opinion, there's not enough, right? There's not that many, but we will add more. That's a promise. I mean, I don't think my hairstyle is in the game yet. The samurai man bun will make its way in eventually. I don't even like my haircut, to be honest. I think it looks a little bit silly. Does this look a little bit like a wig? Like the back is a bit too much? I think so. We had a lot of issues with the backside of the hair, and we fixed most of them. But do you guys see how this hair feels like it's shifted too much to the left? So yeah, we gotta fix these. But the vast majority is looking better now. Like before, we had like huge problem with these. I like the curly hair though. This is like the hair that I want, that I kind of had a long time ago when I used to cut my hair because, you know, once upon a time. What about pink? Yeah, this is cute. I'll go with male. Okay. This is supposed to, I think, yeah, this is supposed to change based on, no, this, okay, this is another bug. All right, we'll sort it out later. So, okay, we'll just jump in the game. Yeah, so in terms of body adjustments, oh, sorry, the game is paused, I think. Okay, it's fine, it didn't crash. When there's a bug at the moment, well, it's not a bug. At the moment, when you click out of the game, it pauses it, and if you do that when it's loading, it doesn't like that. So I'm gonna fix that, because to pause the game, you can just press the space bar like this, but you can't really tell, but it is here. So we have to make this more easily seen. But, so, yeah, I have to fix that. So in the future, when you leave the game, like minimize it, it won't pause automatically. You have to pause it yourself. Because it's causing me a lot of problems when I'm streaming and when I'm doing other things. It's just really frustrating. So I'll have to fix that. Yeah, so Playful Dead asks what sort of body adjustments will be available. This is a very good question, which is one of the reasons why the rig took a long time, because the rig allows you to adjust the body. So the character has lost a lot of weight since the last version. Did the music die? Oh no. Is it still here? No, it's still here. Okay. Right. Never mind. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, so the body will have different body shapes. The arms are actually very difficult to try and fix, because like to have different width arms because of the art that's involved. Because this game is 2D, I mean, there's a reason why I mean, if you think about all of the 2D games out there and think about how many of them allow an in-depth character customization system, there are almost none, right? I think Little SimWorld is one of the more sophisticated ones, I believe, because it's very hard to do. And when we do animations with the arms, you need like all sorts of different arm sprites, and it gets very complicated to add different size arms. So for now, we're just sticking with one. Oh, check out the cloud. I'm so excited about this. See the cloud? This took a while to do, but we have it in, right? Oh, is it just one cloud? Okay, we have to do more, I think. I think this is cloudy weather, but doesn't seem to be many clouds going up. Okay, there's another one. Yeah, see? I'm so excited about this. The clouds are so cool. Like, it took a long time to make because we had a lot of issues with it, like with the particle effects and lag and things like that. So it took a long time to get these clouds in. So we have to really appreciate this moment, everyone. We're in this together. Just appreciate the cloud because it took a long time to do. Michelle, are you here, by the way? If you are, can we add some more clouds in? Because I feel like it's cloudy, but there's like one cloud. It's like, there's one cloud. Come on, we need some more. So the highlight system is not complete. You can see like when you put your mouse over, this is a little bit ugly, right? Oh, by the way, clicking, yeah. So clicking was a feature that Pathfinding took a while to do as well. Like finally it's in, but we're still trying to improve the animations of like the cursor. I just don't like it very much, but for now it works. But so you can use WASD like this, or you can use the mouse, which I'm very proud of because I feel like it's very responsive. It's like you can move how you want. Some people just want to click. Some people just want to use a mouse. Keyboard. So you know, this is a good, good thing. Yeah. So yeah, we can sit. Yes. I'm a little bit obsessive in terms of things in general, and I think I annoy a lot of people with this, which is not a good habit of mine. But for example, can you guys see, right, this sitting, how it's not correct? Because when the character sits, let me zoom in. Apart from, yeah, okay, let's ignore the twitching because this is a little bit of a bug here, but let's ignore the twitching for the moment. That the sit is a little bit too high. Like, he's sitting here, right? But to me, the sit should end around here. So we're like a few pixels too high. These are the things that take the longest to get right. That, yes, we have a bunch of things that are ready, but when you look at this, for me, it feels, 90% there, but it's the last 10% that takes the longest time. Other than this twitching bug, which is obviously there, there's this twitch, but we've got to fix that pathfinding, but yeah. So these are the issues that take the longest, right? It's not so much, let's get a career system in. Oh, by the way, which will come. I'm very hyped to talk about that a little bit. Someone asked earlier, which I didn't answer, which was my fault, about how many careers there will be. The problem with adding careers, I mean, I've designed 5, right? But we want to do 10, and then the idea is every few months we'll add a new career, right? The problem with careers at the moment is that if we want to add cooking, we have to have an elaborate cooking system, which is not fully complete right now. I mean, you guys have probably all played The Sims, I assume, right? But in The Sims, there are some criticism that I would make about it in terms of, I mean, there's a lot that The Sim gets right, but there are a few small things that I would like to improve. Because I don't like talking negatively about games because I know as a game designer how difficult it is to do these things. So it's not like it was an oversight, but rather just it's the best you can do at the time. So at the moment, the career system that we'll have in the game, you get in a car and then it will be a rabbit hole, right? That's the design we have. And when we first made the game, we did a lot of different kinds of. I'll just walk around the world a little bit. The left side, by the way, is the university, which is blocked off. And I'm very proud of the traffic lights, by the way. The traffic lights are kind of awesome, I felt. I'll show you guys the crossroad on the right-hand side. I'm a big fan of what we did. Yeah, there we go. So we have obviously the vertical cars here. So obviously every car needs 4 sprites. The, left, right, top and bottom. Don't do this in real life, by the way. Make sure you don't stand in the middle of a crossroad. It's a great way to be in mortal danger. So this is a bus stop. The bus will stop here and then you can go to work. It will be interaction and it will say go to work. Now, to begin with, we'll have like the chef career. We'll probably just have 1 career to start off with to bug test. And the career system in a way will be similar to The Sims, where you get on a bus and then you go into the rabbit hole, but there will be a lot of options to pick from when you're working. So you can pick the style that you want to work with. Like, for example, you can be lazy and then just slack off, or you can work really hard, and they'll have different effects on your character well-being and your personality. So over time, that shapes your character. And we spent a long time. We actually spent months 2 years ago making active jobs, and there was just no way to do an active job that doesn't get boring after a few hours of gameplay. And the amount of development time it takes to do that is just astronomical, right? You just spend months and months making one active job and it just gets boring after a few hours. And I just didn't want to play it ever again. It was just really bad. So, instead we've opted for a different career system. And I think you guys will like it. I think you have to play it to really see, but I think it will be good. Emberfall asks, that's a cool name. I might have to borrow that for my World of Warcraft character, Emberfall. I've been trying to get into World of Warcraft Classic recently for the Burning Crusade, but I just can't find time to play. Like, I logged in and that was as far as I got. For anybody that plays World of Warcraft. Probably not, but it's a game for people who used to play it once upon a time. There will be pets, right? This is a must, I feel, that if you're playing a sim game, everyone wants pets. That's what everybody wants. So the pets will come, but much further down the line. Like the 2 most basic things are, we're going to add a cat, we'll add a dog. You have it in your home, run around, and you won't be able to control your pet, by the way. So you can't play as your dog, right? That won't be in the game, because we are still trying to keep the RPG vibe in the game, like, strong. So you can't play as your pet, but your pet will have a progression though, right? Like, your pet will have personalities and it will have a progression system like you have. So it won't just be like in Stardew Valley, where I'm not trying to talk negatively about the game. I shouldn't do that. It's a bad habit. The game's great. Stardew Valley is a great game, but the pets there are quite simple. Like, they don't really do that much, right? So it will be more sophisticated than that. That there will be a progression system for your pet, and you can, have different cats and dogs. But we will look into adding more over time. That's important. Yeah, the sunset. I thought we did well in terms of the coloring. It took a while to get the hue right, the kind of cozy hue, because originally, I had to go back and find the older versions of the game, but we had the older version of the game where it's super dark, and the game was it felt like a zombie survival game, at night, and I just didn't like that. That's not what we're trying to make here. So the nighttime is a little bit more cozy. I like the cozy city vibe at nighttime. I've always loved that. Kind of like the reddish hue, So, oh, by the way, NPCs are coming out soon, right? You won't be able to interact with them just yet, but I think in 3 weeks' time, we'll have characters walking across in London and playing on their phones and reading newspapers and making phone calls, and you know that will be in soon. So it won't be just a lonely existence here with cars. So that's exciting. I'm excited for that soon. Yeah, I think for pets that don't run around, like hamsters or lizards, I mean, they run around, but we keep them in a cage, right? Or a tank of some sort. But yeah, those kind of pets are easier to make because it's just in a cage. But the animations and also how they interact with gameplay is what takes the most time, because I don't like the idea that pets just become decorative items. You know, like the idea where, okay, you've got a cat, but it just sits there, right? You got a hamster, but it doesn't do anything. I do want it to impact gameplay in a meaningful way if possible. This is the pub, I think, on the left, but for some reason we have bank bricks. I don't know why, but we'll fix that later. Yeah, so on the left-hand side, this is actually the pub, but except the bricks are wrong that we've used. It's supposed to be the pub on the left-hand side here. But these bricks are very similar to the ones that we're using for the bank, I believe, which is down to the south. And then down here, which we can't go yet, are the supermarket and then the cafe and the furniture store. But I really want to add those in ASAP, but we really need the gameplay, because I do feel that we've spent, you know, a lot of time to make the game look good. But we now need a lot more gameplay into the game, which in the next month or two we'll have. I'm actually really enjoying this streaming session. Actually, it's kind of chill. So I'm just enjoying YouTube so much more. I don't know what it is about with me and Twitch. I just can't seem to get the hang of it. For whatever reason. Sorry, I'm just going on random tangents because there's a lot of random things I want to talk about. But if you look at this telephone booth, right? We were talking about this earlier before the stream. I don't know if you can see, but like the telephone booth is a little bit lower quality than the rest of the game, right? It's because it's older art that we had before that we didn't replace. Like if we were to draw this telephone booth now, this crown would be a lot thicker, and this like the text would be thicker. But at the moment it's quite thin and it's difficult to see. So that's, yeah. This telephone booth will be replaced next week. I don't think anybody will care, but it will be replaced. And when it does get replaced, soon, later on, it will be usable. So a lot of these things, this is not like, we're not just doing this because like, oh, here's a telephone booth. But later, you know, they will be interactable. There will be things to be done with these telephone booths. It'll be pretty cool. So they will have like gameplay features. So that'll be exciting. It's finally nighttime. It's midnight now. So Michelle added a base house because when you go into the game for the first time, there's no house, which is a little bit weird, right? That was never intended. It's just how it happened to be. So this is the base house you start with now, and for some reason we forgot to add lighting. There are no lights. so we will add in lights in the next patch, but yeah, so we did update these cards, but we made a mistake because they're a little bit too bright. I think the saturation is a little bit off, but you know, we'll fix these. It's like one step forward and then one step back, unfortunately. Yeah. So okay, I found lighting. Yeah, we have to improve these animations. It's a little bit quick, but we'll get there. So, okay, we'll add some lighting just for the moment because I feel like it's a little bit dark. beginning to feel like a haunted house out here. Don't you guys hate it when you like walk into your garden at night and it's pitch black and it's really scary? I always get scared. Like, this was back when I lived at home with my parents in London, and I had and in the back garden we didn't really have any lights, and then at nighttime you like, I'd always get scared of the garden because the windows are really big and it's just pitch black, like in the background. And this has always been like giving me nightmares. But yeah, so you can see the walls here, right? It's thick, and I think they do well outside. Like here, I don't mind the thickness, but I do feel that indoors here, like they're a little bit thick, and so that's been bothering me for a while. And so, you know, I'll try and look into solving that down the line, but it's taking a long time because this is hard coded in. So to kind of fix this is going to take some time. How do you feel about this transparency system, by the way? So type this into the chat if you like this transparency, right? Because I think George said, I don't want to throw George under the bus here because I can't remember who said it. It's fine. It's just, I think George said that he doesn't like the transparency, and I was the only person that liked the transparency on the team for the mouse cursor, because I feel like, okay, so if you move behind the house, there's transparency, right? I thought this was like a genius feature that we did. Like, what do you guys think? And then when you put your mouse over things, it also gives transparency, which I thought is also a good feature, because like then you can see what's going on, right? Otherwise, like, well, what if something is behind? Like, it's impossible to see things. Yeah, so I kind of thought this was good. Yeah. But we had in that team meeting we had, it was like 5 people, and nobody liked the transparency behind the mouse, I think, and I was the only person that liked it, and I felt so bad. I was like, oh no, am I designing it like the game incorrectly? So that's, I think that's what happened. But so that's the story behind the transparency, but we do still have it for now. Yeah, that's what I said to them. I just said, like, okay, we can just have like an on-off feature, right? So we do have the settings here anyway. So I don't think you can toggle it on or off for now, I think, but we will soon. Yes, that will happen. Yeah, I do know that in The Sims, the walls are very thin, and very often you play with like no walls, right? You can have walls or like cut down. You can have like full walls, or you cut them down. You do different versions, I think, options. That's available on RuneScape as well, and I always end up playing the game like without roofs and just removing the walls because it just got in the way. But I think because of the angle of this game, though, the walls are less frustrating in a way, right? Because it's just like a bird's eye view almost. Interesting trivia about this. The reason why I made a 2D game, I know 3D is like the hype, right? Like everybody loves 3D games, you know, it's just obsessed with it. And a lot of 3D games make me sick when I play them. So games like Fortnite, I can't play for more than like 30 minutes because I just get motion sickness when I play those games, which is why I've always had a thing for games that don't move the camera angle. So like on Animal Crossing, right? When you have the kind of consistent view, or in like the older Legend of Zelda games, those were always my favorite games because the camera angle is very smooth, and so it's kind of relaxing to play them, which is the same vibe we have in this game because of that. Like we haven't, as you can see in Little Symbol, like the camera angle is quite smooth and generally quite like, you know, I think relaxing to look at. That's why, because I get motion sickness easily, so I've just made this game in a way that it kind of, you know, and reflects that. Yeah, like for Minecraft, I have the same issue. I'm playing whenever I play Minecraft, I played it in the past. It's many years ago now since I last played Minecraft, but yeah, I get really sick when I play the game. It's just, yeah, that's you know, that's my own problem though. I kind of get motion sickness when I play the game, especially when I'm like turning a lot and just doing things very quickly, and then it just makes me really uncomfortable. So I have that kind of issue. So yeah, I'm gonna click out of the screen, so the game will just pause, which we need to fix. I'll just show off. There's a few more images I want to show, although they're a lot less interesting because they're all like just clothing for the most part. Like for example, we have new skirts because we had to redo a lot of these things just simply because of the legs had to be remade, right? We have the short stubby legs before, right? And then we made the legs longer because of the body shape change, and we couldn't keep the old ones. So the skirts have changed shape as well as the legs, and the shoes got bigger. I can't remember exactly why we had to make the shoes a tiny bit bigger. I'm sure Michelle has the answer to that, but that's where we are. Yeah, it's just well, yeah, we had to kind of, but I think it's a good change because the shoes are now bigger than before. Like the previous shoes, you could barely see them, and that wasn't good because it just meant no matter what shoes you put on, they were basically the same. So now the shoes are bigger, and there's a more substantial thing that you can equip on. I thought that was kind of nice. Yeah, so these are the jeans. I don't think there's too much to say on this one. It was a pretty straightforward change. A lot of these were pretty, well, I say pretty straightforward, but a lot of these required fixes because from the side view as well, we changed a lot in terms of the divide between the upper body and the legs. So now, as you can see, like the top is now obviously a different part of the body than the bottoms. Before it was a smoother transition, which I thought actually didn't look quite as good. So I think it looks much better now. So I hope everybody will enjoy the arms change. Unfortunately, it's like not, oh, these are ripped jeans. It's not like a major gameplay patch, but going forwards, the plan with Patreon updates will be that we'll do patches every 3 weeks, rather than 2, because originally we did patches a lot quicker because there were so many bugs that we just had to fix them all the time. So the 1 week patches made sense and the 2 week patches made sense, but I just feel that it's better to get everybody playing at the same time, right? Like, because the bigger the patches are, the more people want to try out these new versions of the game, and that also gives me an opportunity to live stream, because it's a little bit difficult to live stream when you don't really have any new features, you know, to actually show off on screen. You know, it's nice for me to talk about it, but it's better if I have a video to represent what I'm actually talking about. So this way I can do game updates every 3 to 4 weeks. It will probably move to once a month later on, but for now it will be every 3 weeks. And then before the public release of a Patreon build, I can stream it and talk about it first, and then people will be able to get the build like a day later to actually play. That's a much more streamlined workflow, because trying to push updates every 2 weeks, it's actually counterintuitive. It's not very good, because it means that we have a limited amount of time to fix bugs. So the game will always be more buggy, and we're going to be able to add a lot less features, unfortunately. So hoping to be able to do a little bit more when it comes to these bigger patches, so people will be a little bit more excited. So it kind of makes more sense. Yeah, Amazing SMR asks, have you seen the game called Live the Life on stream? On Steam, sorry. I have. I'm gonna open my Steam quickly, and I'm just gonna Google it. Sorry, Steam it? Search it. I did watch Pixelade play it. It's this one, right? Ooh. Oh no, the reviews are not doing very well. So I did watch Pixelay play. I felt that, look, here's what I would say to everybody here. And this is the harsh reality of making a game, right? So this is coming from like a game designer perspective, where I thought when I first started making Little Sim World that I had this brilliant idea that, let me see when I play the video here. I'll mute the sound. Okay, I'll mute the sounds. I'll just play this while I'm talking. So I thought that if I make a sim game, right, it would work because there really aren't many sim games out there. But to be perfectly honest, I just wanted to make a game, right? Like I'm honestly not doing this for any like financial thing or, you know, anything, you know, to do with, you know, from the business perspective, it doesn't interest me very much in terms of game development. What I care about is just, did I make a good game, and did you guys enjoy it? I mean, that's what it is really. I mean, it's just pretty simple, right? That's all I've really ever cared about. But when I started making Little Sim World, I realized the reason why nobody has done a sim game isn't because it's such a unique idea. I mean, let's face it, it's not difficult to say, you know what, let's make a sim game. And they've done this on Live the Life, right? The problem with it is that because of the modularity of the design, like for example, right, you guys want, I shouldn't say you guys, like I'm blaming everybody. No, it's just we want, right? I should say we want color palettes. We want, you know, games that look good. The aesthetics is very important because this is you and you want your character to look the way you want, right? So is the guy walking as a box? What's happening there? So you want the game to look cute. So you want there to be modularity. And when I say modularity, right, I mean you want different clothing, you want different hats, you want different glasses, you want different faces, and all of that has to work with the game. And the amount of development time that takes is really, really scary. It's really frightening. And I didn't realize this when I first started, but obviously now, after doing this, making the build mode for you guys and doing the color wheel and the arms and these changes, I now realize why there's no indie team doing it, because it takes too long, right? And people, I don't want to say give up easily, but like imagine if you're making a game for like 2 or 3 years, right? And you spend all that time just building a character and just doing the same thing day in, day out. The development process, quite honestly, gets quite dull and uninteresting. It gets quite sad, to be honest. It's really depressing. That's why these games are really hard to make. And so whenever I see a game like Live the Life, and I see it's from an indie studio, I get worried because I know how hard 3D games are to make. And a lot of what's being done here, by the way, is just coming off what's available already in the Unreal Engine, right? So a lot of these assets that they're using, right, and a lot of these placement tools, they already exist inside Unity. Sorry, inside Unreal. We're using Unity. So when I see this, right, I just got to be honest, like, they didn't really make this. They just used pre-existing tools to make what already exists, right? But in Little Sim World, we built what we have almost from the ground up. The UI, the way that the item play, like we really went quite far in trying to make it. It's not about being unique for the sake of being unique. You know, it's not like, oh, well, I just want an edgy system. It's not quite like that. It's that to be able to give it all the options that we want as a sim community, it takes a lot of time. If you do what these 3D games do, like in Live the Life, you end up with features that's very incomplete, and you can never deliver what a sim game really actually needs because you haven't made the system. You've just copied and pasted a pre-existing system, right? So that's the danger here. And the team has to be very, very big to do a 3D game. Like we have at the moment 8 people working on Little Sim World, and we're working very hard. And once again, you know, there's a lot of credit due to the artists like Ronald and Tina and Michelle, and George testing the game all the time, and George is in Unity as well, and Michael and Andre doing the code. Credit is due to everybody on the team who's working really hard on this, and we're making a 2D game, right? And that takes a lot of time. If you try and do a 3D game like properly, it will take even longer. So whenever there's like a 3D game, like a proper 3D game with a team of less than 20 people, I get a little bit skeptical. Like, you just can't do it, right? Unless you have 10 years, right? Like if somebody said to me, hey Terry, do you want to make a 3D sim game? We'll give you 20 people. How long will it take you to do it? I would say like a proper release, right? Like a full release. It would take you like 3 or 4 years or more with 20 people, right? And the question is like, it's really scary, basically, yeah. And so, sorry, big tangent. And so I really commend what they're trying to do here with the game like Live the Life, but you would really need a very high amount of commitment to make this kind of game work. Which unfortunately, I wish the feedback is a little bit negative, I see. But yeah, so maybe a lot of like the comments are just, a bit limited in what you can do at the moment. But it does look like it has promise though. If they continue to develop the game, and that's the thing with sim games, is that if you just keep on developing it and adding more features, eventually it will just become more fun, I think. Yeah. Right. That's a big tangent, sorry. So yeah, Matthew asks, what about Paralives? So look, Paralives is really nice as a game. I love the team. I love what they're trying to do. I haven't talked to Alex before, but he seems like a cool guy. I mean, I can't really say too much about their team. I talked to Anna a little bit. I'm one of their programmers. Anna is really, really cool. She also spent some time doing a PhD, so we had some talks about her research that she did before. So it was fun. I thought she was really awesome. But Paralives, I think they've chosen a really good choice in terms of their game design, because it's like low poly 3D models. I mean, it's not ultra low poly because there's still sufficient detail, so it's unfair to say it's low poly, but it's not heavily complex and realistic, right? Because I think that's the right choice. The reason why Live the Life is like this is because if you go to the store on the Unreal Store or the Unity Store, you can buy pre-made assets. And I mean, look, I don't know if these are pre-made assets, but I think they are, right? I don't want to be unfair and just to criticize people, but I do think these are pre-made assets, which is kind of fine because you're just trying to make a small game here, right? As a proof of concept. So I don't have anything against borrowing the assets. This is perfectly fine because you're paying for them, and it's a perfectly legitimate thing to do. So it's okay. But the problem is that you get a game that looks like GTA 5, right? Because it's not made for a sim game. It doesn't feel like it's a sim game. And Paralives really captures that really well, I feel. Like they've captured the sim vibe and they really understand what kind of aesthetic is necessary for the game. So that's what I really love about them, and I kind of really like their vibe. My only concern would be, how long will it take for them to finish the game, right? As I mentioned concerns about just how long it takes to develop a game, right? Like Little SimWorld is much easier because it's 2D, and I mean 2D is more complicated in other ways. Like 3D is not harder in every single way. 2D art, the art that we do takes longer. It takes longer to draw the art that we do than a low poly 3D model by far. Right, so we've tried to save time by doing a 2D game, but we ended up spending longer because we spent so much time doing a 2D game, like drawing the 2D art. Like one of the cars, like you've seen our cars, right, in the game, right? Like you've seen our cars, right? If you've noticed, one thing that you get with our game that you don't get with other games is that if you zoom in, you don't lose detail. Have you guys played like 3D games where if you zoom out and play the game, it looks really nice, but as soon as you zoom in, the game's like really blurry, right? But have you noticed in our game, the game never loses quality, right? I don't care how much you zoom in, the game would never lose sharpness, right? It's because we really spent a lot of time drawing everything. Like from every item you see in the game, we've done 10, 20 revisions over and over again. You know, I not hours of work, literally years of work, you know, and that's how we get these assets looking the way they do, right? But unfortunately, if you were to do this in 3D and do 3D low poly, that's fine. It will be faster to do. But the main challenge with Paralives is the animation system, right? And the same is true with us, by the way, because in The Sims, you expect that you can play with your pets, you can cook, you can sit on the chair. Like everything needs modularity, everything needs interaction, right? So for example, if we look at a game like Pokemon only has one character, or a male and female one, so two. And all of the clothes only have to go on them, right? You don't need to adjust heights, you don't need different faces, and the character doesn't have many animations, right? If you think about the Pokemon game, you have a running animation, you have a walking animation, you have a Pokeball throwing animation, and an idle animation. That's it, right? Like honestly, for our team, we could do that in 2 months, and you're finished. But unfortunately, in the sim games, you need so many crazy animations. That's where most of the downtime is, right? So that's why big companies today, they don't want to make sim games. And the reason why, I mean, there's another reason why. I mean, this is getting a little bit too deep into game design. I hope this isn't too boring for you guys. But if you look at the financial reports of EA, they make a lot more money from free-to-play games and just other sources of income from games, which is why the Sims, they're not putting as much emphasis on the game, which I don't like, because I think the Sims and this kind of genre, it can be really big. It's just, if you don't make a good game, it's difficult for people to be interested. And unfortunately, the expectation for sim games is just really high. Like you can't get away with a sim game that doesn't look good. And you can't get away with a sim game where you can't interact with the world around you, unfortunately. But you can get away with that in RPGs, right? Like there are plenty of games like Final Fantasy where most things in the game are just assets, right? Like they just occupy the game world and you don't have to interact with them. And that makes the game a lot easier to play. And to play, yes, but to develop, it's just much cheaper to do and much quicker. Yeah, sorry, I'm holding traffic. Yeah, so the car horns we did add into the game, by the way. We added it and then we removed it. we added the car horns and then we removed it like immediately because it annoyed me, basically. And we have to do this right, the car horns, and we just didn't find a way of doing it. So car horns are coming, but I'm gonna have to re-implement it later. Yeah, so I did do like a thought experiment on, I mean that's, so I wonder if how many of you guys actually know what it is that I do on the team, because we have the programming side, which I don't really deal with, and we have the art side, and then we have the animation side, and then we have the testing side, right? I don't actually, obviously I'm a part of that and I help out where I can, but the reason why whenever we have a stream like this, and I always get a little bit self-conscious, is because I'm really obsessed with game design and just gameplay in general, and that's what I spend most of my time thinking about. And so what I spend most of my time doing when I'm developing the game is on game design, right? On like, how should the character walk, or how long should the traffic lights be, or maybe how thick should the walls be, or this kind of thing is what I actually work on. So when it comes to game design, I'm heavily involved in, I really care about how much fun factor there is into everything we're doing, because I'm very scared of spending a really long time on a feature and saying to you guys, okay, in these next 2 months we'll add this, and then saying, hey, by the way, that feature isn't very good, let me just delete that. And then we might lose a lot of progress, and that makes everybody upset. So I'm always like overly cautious in adding these features, because I can't just add in what I feel like adding in, right? Because the time and financial cost of that is just really scary. So, which is why I'm kind of trying to pace things and add things in slowly, but ensuring that everything that gets added is something that people definitely want, right? Because it's very scary when you get things wrong. You just can't afford to make those mistakes, unfortunately. This is not like, you know, like a it might seem like a after school project, but it's not an after school project. You know, we are taking this kind of very seriously, and we're very cautious about adding things that are wrong. And so yeah, and then sorry, went on a tangent from the Power Lives chat. So you know, Power Lives, love the game, but my only worry would be, I wonder how difficult it is to get all of the animations right for them. That's the scary part, you know. And I know they've got one animator right now working on the game full time, and if you look at other games, right, with a similar team size, a little bit bigger, like Temtem, for example, right? Temtem looks much worse than Power Lives. It just looks way worse in terms of aesthetics and design. So, you know, that, you know, makes sense, because, well, does it make sense? I feel like Temtem should look better. It's like a Pokemon clone. And I played the game when it first came out, and it's fine, but the aesthetics is not good enough to be a sim game, obviously. I mean, it's not trying to be, but I think on their team, the last time I checked, they had like four full-time animators, and their team was only like 15 people. So yeah, so actually the main concern for me isn't so much the 3D modeling of Power Lives. It's more the animation side, and then also the gameplay side to match. And I think the animations will take the Power Lives team a substantial amount of time to do, because it's very challenging. But I really hope it goes well for them, because we really need more, you know, high quality sim games out there, and I think they are delivering. That's what they're trying to do. So yeah, so I'm very inspired by what Alex and the team are doing. It's really awesome. Kelly asks, can you click on the traffic light so you can cross the road? These will change automatically. So there won't be a button here. You can just so these are scheduled at certain timers. So if you just look at these timers, they do switch on their own, so you don't have to click yourself. But I don't know if I really want to add gameplay to the traffic lights, because, you know, I try not to add gameplay into things I don't necessarily need gameplay. But the one thing that does, how it does affect gameplay, is that the NPCs, they won't jaywalk, right? So NPCs don't jaywalk in the game. They have to cross the road at the traffic lights. So you won't see NPCs randomly running across the street like this. Like, only the player can, like this thing I'm doing here, only the player can do. Like, NPCs will not do this. Because otherwise that would be a crazy mess. Yeah. Actually, amazing SMR comments that Ooblets only has 2 people and a married couple who just had a baby, and the game is halfway done and drawn to. Would you mind just typing out a little bit how Ooblets is doing? If that's okay, if you just type a paragraph, have you played it? I would love for you to tell me, or just us, a little bit about Ooblets, or anybody that's playing Ooblets. Because I've talked to their team actually a little bit, and I love Rebecca, right? Rebecca is making non-player cat, I think that's her username. She's making Ooblets, and I love the style of the game, and it's incredible what they've done with 2 people. Like, that's an example of a 3D. It's not really a sim game, but it kind of is in a way, but it's not a fully sim game. But you notice how in that game you don't play the game in the same way that you do a sim game, right? It doesn't have like the detail in terms of character customization like we do in Little Sim World. But obviously it's a different. It's different, right? It has like the Pokemon system, like the pet system, like the music battle system, which is super cool. But that game took them 5 years, right? It took them 5 years to go from concept to early access on Epic, I think. So that gives an example of how long something would take. And that game doesn't require modularity in the same way that The Sims does. So a lot of what I've said about Paralives doesn't apply for Ooblets, which is why they could get the game out a lot faster. So yeah, I mean, a lot faster. 5 years and 2 people is pretty long, but you know, it's impressive to be able to make a 3D game with 2 people. The game looks fantastic. You know, even though it's low poly, it just looks really good. Matthew asks, isn't Paralives using procedural animations? What do you mean by that? You have to explain that a little bit to me. Alana mentions the clock is interesting. How come it goes up by 10 minutes at once instead of 1 minute at a time? So this is quite easy to explain. Originally, we had the clock go up in 1 minute. In integers of 1, right? So every second it would be by 1, and it was really annoying because it would be always moving on the top right of the screen, and it really annoyed me because the ticking just really got to me. Like it was constant. I mean, there wasn't a sound, like a ticking sound, but it bothered me a lot because of just, I was always looking at it when I was playing the game, and it was moving very quickly, and it just agitated me, right? And so integers of 10 just makes the game a lot more chill in terms of the vibe. So it's not moving constantly. So that was more of like an aesthetic choice, if that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. Finder you mentions, I like it as the 10s make it. Yeah, it's not as overwhelming. That's right. It's a lot more chill. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I mean, you guys can let me know your opinion, but the Sims clock makes me so anxious. It's like it's ticking one by one, and I'm like, okay, when do I go to work? I'm trying to time everything perfect, and it's just like, it just makes me really anxious. Yeah, it just makes me so anxious. It's like, so I just bothered me so much. So I just had to get rid of it from the game. Like the most immediate choice was like, show the minutes. But when we tested it, I just didn't like it. Yeah, we could add that as an option for sure. So here's what I'll say. A lot of these options, like the ticking, and also like the walls, this transparency mode, all of these things will arrive as options later. But because they're non-essential, I'm just gonna wait for another like 6 months before adding these in, because every time Michael adds something in like this, that's like 3 hours of his day gone. Every minor setting Michael adds into the game, it's like 2 or 3 or 4 hours of his time, sometimes a day, and it's just slowing us down substantially from more gameplay. So we will do very elaborate settings later on so that you can really just play however you want. Like if you want seconds, you can have that. If you really want a dollar symbol, you can have that. If you really want no transparency, you can also have that. You can have all of these things, but it's just a time thing, right? Like we just have to wait until way later down the line to implement these, because if we do it too soon, we're putting off major gameplay features that could be added instead. And instead of doing like careers in 3 weeks, we've added like 10 minor settings that very few people would use, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of slowing down on that to try and add just more core gameplay, which is like super important. Oh, fantasy one. Oh god. Lil asks, I have a question that he's done research on. What is Fantasy World? Have you did you Google me, by the way, and find that Fantasy World? So here's a story time for you guys. This is not the first game that I made. So 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I can't remember, it's 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I made a game called Fantasy World. And it was a monster catching game. It was effectively Pokemon, but 2D. Look, it's Little Sim World, but Pokemon, right? And here's what happened. It was just a fun story time, that's all. I love this water, by the way. I just love how this looks. I really want to add more particle effects. I just love it. It's just really nice how this has been implemented. I'm making games because I just love gaming and I just want to make a good game, right? And my motivations for, playing games is just very simple. It's just I just like games. Now, I actually had a lot of fallouts, like arguments, and there were arguments with my previous developers that we worked with. I gotta be honest with you guys, if you see Kickstarter or Patreon, be very careful about who you support, because I don't want to throw developers under the bus, but I don't get along with a lot of them, right? Game developers, because a lot of them are very obsessed with money. Like, oh, how much money will this game make? And I always didn't get along with them because I always say to them, how can you expect people to give you money or think about money when you don't even have a game yet, right? The most important thing is have a good game. And if people think that your game is worth their time, they'll play it. There's no magic formula, right? There's no magic formula like, oh, if you do this clever thing, if you do this trick, people will play your game. Like, that's just not, okay. Maybe that's how some mobile games work, I don't know. But that's not how I want to make games. And I got in a lot of arguments with them in the past because my previous developers said to me that if you don't put the game on Patreon or Kickstarter, we're quitting. Because they were obsessed about getting paid more money for their work, which, by the way, at the time really wasn't very good, right? It wasn't even as if like, oh, the work was amazing. It wasn't. And so I refused to do Patreon until last June because I wasn't confident enough in the game. I didn't feel like, oh, we have a game that people would genuinely enjoy. I felt like we had a concept. And I don't want people to fund a concept. Because think about this, right? If I said, hey, could you guys fund me for this concept I have, which I disagree with anyway, because if it's my concept, I should be the one to take the risk, not the players, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I just don't like that. I dislike that. The players, the fans of the genre, shouldn't be the one to be footing the risk for these games. I've always disagreed with that. So if somebody does a Kickstarter with a game that isn't ready, then the game gets released and it's terrible, right? Or it's unfinished. That's the fault of the developer, and he knew that, right? But don't believe them when they say like, oh, things just didn't go the way we planned. No, they knew they knew roughly what they could do, right? And they overpromised, and then you end up with a product that nobody wants, and it's really bad, right? Both for people who, because people who support games, they're genuine people, right? Like, I've supported games in the past, and if I go on Kickstarter and I support people with my own money, right? It's a genuine belief that I believe in the product. And then when you disappoint so many people, I don't know how these developers can live with themselves. This genuinely makes me really, really angry. And this is something that bothers me regularly, right? Where you take people's money and then it's not that good, and then you just move on and be like, oh, I'll just make another game. Like, I don't know how people can have the kind of moral compass to do that, right? And I think one day if I get bigger, like if we grow bigger as a community, I'm going to be deeply unpopular with the game developing community, because I'm going to be throwing a lot of people under the bus, because a lot of these people are trying to get people to pay for products that either don't exist or was never going to be good in the first place, right? And I think on stream, I'm just going to say it as it is, right? There are quite a few of them that are just, that you can't ask for money that for a game that absolutely will not see the light of day or will just be bad. So, sorry, I got to calm myself down. I promised myself that I wouldn't get angry on stream about topics like this. You know, but I'm really passionate about game design and just gaming in general. So whenever I see something that is, you know, disingenuous or, you know, done in a way that it just should not be done, you know, I get a little bit upset. But so then a lot of people didn't want to work with me originally because they would ask for my plan. They would say, okay, when do you plan on doing Kickstarter? When do you plan on, you know, doing Patreon? And I'd always said that, you know, I'll do it when we're ready. And they'll be like, okay, but how many years is that? And I would say, if it takes us 3 years, it's 3 years. And they would be very unhappy with that answer. So it was very hard to find a team to make this game with because people quit. They would just be like, yeah, it's a cool game, cool concept, but, you know, I have to make this game for like 2 years before we even see any growth. Like, no thanks. So the vast majority of game developers are very selfish. I just have to be honest. Like, there are good ones. Like, there are very good ones. Like, some of them are phenomenal people and they do great work. So I'm not trying to say that they're all bad. Definitely not. There are some fantastic ones, right? But the vast majority that I've talked with and I've interacted with, they're very obsessed with fame and also this kind of growth in terms of like how much would I get paid immediately. And this is how the gaming industry struggles, right? We ask the question of like, why is it that there are so few truly innovative games that people really want to play, right? I'm waiting here with my Switch. I'm like, when's the next game coming out, right? And let's be honest, on the Switch, majority of them are ports, which are fine, great games, you know, it's fine. Nintendo make great games. You know, I like Mario. I've loved the recent Yoshi games. I've loved the Mario Party games. That's fine, right? But those are like Nintendo first party games. We expect those and they take a very long time to make. But then like, where's the innovative indie games out there? And the reason there isn't is just based on what I've talked to you guys about today, right? The fact that a lot of these developers, especially programmers, right, are just very interested in like, oh, how much money can I make in 2 years if I make this game? And if you're mostly focused on return on revenue, you're not interested in building community. You're not interested in actually talking to people who are playing these games, right? and so it's also very easy for these developers to develop this kind of like a weird compass, a weird moral compass where they feel that like as game designers, they know what gamers want, which is why it feels like the community want this, right? Like, for example, we want a color wheel. We want bunk beds in the game. Like, we want certain features in the game, right? But it takes them like 5 or 6 years to add. And the reason is not because they're ignoring you guys. I mean, they are, but it's just that they feel that because they're professional game design, like, I don't even know what that means anymore. Professional, like, you know, because, you know, to me, game design is whoever has a good idea, whoever can suggest a good idea for, you know, for a game and it's fun. That's game design. That's good game design. You know, a lot of things, you know, a huge amount of what's gone into Little SimWorld are suggestions from you guys, right? Like, you've made suggestions to me and I've realized, oh, I never would have thought of that, right? Like you guys have made suggestions and said, oh, this is a good thing. I'm like, okay, that's actually really cool. I didn't think of that. And I put it in and then it's what people want. But then there are other times where I put in something and then you guys say, oh, that's really cool. You guys didn't think that you wanted that, but when I put it in, you realize, oh, that's kind of nice, right? So it goes both ways. It's not like the game isn't purely made by the community. That's obviously not possible. And the game isn't made by the developer alone because that's also not possible, right? So if you don't respect the people who are literally playing your games, how, you know, here's a point that I'm gonna make, just a really simple one, right? Like, when this game gets bigger, when Little SimWorld gets more people playing, right? And you guys will play the game a lot more than I will, right? Like when we get careers in, when we get these interests and these builds and all these different kind of fun features into the game, you guys will play the game a lot more than I will in terms of raw hours, especially the hardcore players, right? Therefore, you're going to know the bugs, like the tiny quirks, even better than I will. So it makes sense that in terms of pure gameplay, that I need to ask you guys for advice. Like, okay, how do you guys feel about the cooking system, right? The way I see it is very different to the way that the players see it. But when the game designers get too overconfident, right? Like, oh, I'm a professional designer, I know what the game needs. You end up with a big corporation, which is fine. I don't really have any necessary issues with big companies and corporations. That's absolutely fine. But it's just that if you don't design the game in a way that people want, you're going to end up with a situation where people want a particular feature and that doesn't get added for 5 years and it just becomes a meme online at some point. And even when it gets put in, it's like, yeah, you've added it, but you could have done that in 3 weeks after release rather than 6 years and made us pay a DLC for it, right? I mean, we don't even have to name any games for you guys to know that's true. We don't even need to name anybody, you know? Yeah, like Glenn, says, yeah, the quote of I think the quote was, you think you do, but you don't, right? That was like the quote that Blizzard gave about World of Warcraft Classic, that the old game was better. And I still, to this day, think it is better. It just becomes a meme that when game developers think they know more than they know more than they actually do, that's when it becomes very dangerous. I mean, in some aspects, it's true. You know, in some aspects, designers do really know their thing. Like in certain details, they really do know things that players don't know. But in terms of like the macro gameplay and the fun aspect of the game, the players know more. And that's always been the case, and that has been the case, and that will always be the case in the future, and that won't change. So yeah, yeah. Oh, hey Kapiki, haven't seen you for a while. How have you been? Kapiki was hoarding McDonald's Pokemon cards the last time I spoke to her. You guys know about like the recent Pokemon boom, right? Like the Pokemon got crazy recently, and like with Pokemon cards, and I'm a huge fan of Pokemon, by the way. Like I got so many Pokemon cards, and then Kapiki was like buying McDonald's because she wanted the Pokemon cards, and I wanted to do that as well, but it was sold out because I live in the UK, right, in Cambridge, and I think the release of the McDonald's was really late, so the cards, and so when I looked on the website, if I bought it, I was gonna get like Disney toys or something. I'm like, I don't want Disney toys, I want Pokemon cards. And then and they just sold out so fast. Like people would just, I really hate that. Like people would just like buy like 100 Happy Meals and then just keep the Pokemon cards. But Kapiki was doing it like in a nice way though. She was actually giving the food to like her roommates and stuff, so she didn't waste any food. So that's cool, you know. But people who do waste food like that kind of annoyed me a little bit. Sorry, I'm exposing her too much. I'll stop. But yeah, she was doing Pokemon cards. It was pretty cool. I've been buying too many recently. Maybe next time on stream I'll like show my Pokemon cards to you guys, like the Charizards I have or something. So yeah, and you know, just to reply to Scarletta's comment there about a lot of games have good concepts, is that there is actually an industry norm where, and I say this because there have been a lot of publishers that I've talked to that have been interested in our game, and a lot of questions that get asked, and this is something else that I slightly disagree with. It's that very often publishers will ask this weird question where they say like, what makes your game unique, right? And that's what they ask a lot in pitches. I'm not pitching to developers because I don't really want to sell off the game right now, because I kind of want to be very careful about design influences of the game. Okay, to be fair, publishers don't really force the developers to do anything. So if indie games get ruined, it's the indie developers that ruined it, not the publisher. So that's a point for you guys to remember for the future. So whenever games get worse and it's an indie game, you can blame it on the developers, not the publisher. That's absolutely the case. So a lot of publishers will ask the question, like, what makes your game unique? And they really focus on this, and it's something that I slightly disagree with, right? Because if we look at Little Sim World, I don't really think, at least so far, there's anything that I've added to the game that's truly like super original, or oh, this has never been done before. I don't think I have done that, right? Like, if you look at everything in the game, like the trucks, or the character creation, or the build mode, all of this stuff is what you guys would expect from a high quality sim game, right? It's not as if I went out there and said, I'm gonna do this really clever mechanic and now everybody will play my game, right? Like, what's original about these trees? Or like, what's original about the way this character runs? It's not necessarily original or like, oh, we've never seen a character run before. But personally, I believe in the way that things get implemented, if that makes sense, right? It's the implementation that really matters, right? Like, what's the vibe? Is it chill? Like, am I enjoying it as I'm walking around London? Does the traffic make me feel like I'm part of this world that I want to be part of? Right? Like, if I have a dog in the game and I walk my dog, do I feel like that, I'm really enjoying this experience of walking my dog in this, in Little Sim World in London? That's what matters to me. Rather than like, oh, the reason why the game is good is because there's this clever like mechanic in careers where if you cook a burger this way, it does this flashy animation that's really cool. I just don't think that's how you make a game. Right? Obviously, the vibe, like the concept does draw people. Like, for example, Ooblets has that really cool music battle mechanic, right? That's really cool. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. But the question is, how well was it implemented? How well is that battle system? If it's really sophisticated and really fun, then it has very high value. But if it's poorly implemented, it doesn't matter what you do. It's still not going to be that fun, right? So when we're making things in the game, we are looking for originality. Like, the art that we make, we never try and kind of, I was going to say copy. I don't like that word, because we have used some like real life references, like, the kind of puns, and you've seen that already, right? Like, obviously when you draw an egg, there are only so many ways like that you can draw an egg. So, but nevertheless, we try to make things as high quality as possible. So that's my approach to the game. That every system we put in the game, be it the build mode or the character creation or the careers, we want it to be the best one there is, right? That I really would like to see if we can do a better careers mode than The Sims. That's a really good. I'm really excited to kind of challenge myself on that one, and the team to challenge us on that. If we can make a fun careers mode that's more interesting than the Sims one. And that's like, that won't be the main focus for the next month, because so in the next month we'll put in the needs. So you'll be able to interact with the shower, with the bed, with the food and the toilet. So these needs will drop down. We'll add some graphical effects to the well-being system, and then we'll add the animations in to interact with the furniture. So you hopefully, I say hopefully, but I don't really see why we wouldn't add it in 3 weeks. So 3 weeks should be enough time. So well, hopefully be a little bit conservative, you can then interact with all of the furniture in the game. Not all of them, but the main ones. Sorry, the main ones, to clarify. Yeah. So Michelle didn't actually do the art for like the major pieces. So Michelle suggests revisions for art, and he did the UIs, right? So the UIs is all Michelle's work, and the icons, these are all Michelle's work. So to be fair, these assets here are all Ronald's work, and Tina's work. So they do assets, and they take like a monstrous amount of time. Like, it's really scary. Like, every time one of these cars get finished, I'm a big fan of this truck. I think we did really well here. Yeah, it takes like 30 hours, like 30 hours or something, to do a car. Like, the bigger one takes like a week. Like, this truck took a week to draw, like all the angles, obviously. And then, yeah, it's really scary because, yeah, we've drawn it through vectors so that no matter how much you zoom in, the quality isn't lost. So that's how, when you zoom in with like the screen, how it doesn't lose sharpness, because we use vectors. That's why. And that just takes longer. But, you know, I thought that the quality would be worth it. Yeah. So it's really scary. Like whenever people say, you know, oh, when are the big updates coming, or you know, stuff like that, it's just every piece of work that gets done, you know, the number of hours required is a lot more than what people think it is, right? Like the yeah, so each big car takes a whole like 40 hours to do. And if you think about how many cars we have, this is faster. This is like 3 or 4 days. But then you can think like, and this bus takes a very long time. And then you can think like, okay, think about how many objects we have in the game, cars, and then think about the fact that then we had to do the recolors, right? Like, these cars now can all be recolored, right? This is why we have so many different color cars, because it's automatically recolored through like in Unity we have the shading system in place, so this is recolored automatically. So we don't need because this is why the cars on Patreon are drawn in like grayscale, so it gets colored automatically. You see these two cars, which are effectively the same car, but they get recolored. And this needs to be done because it makes the game like not laggy, right? This is why the game can run really smoothly, because of the recolor system. So this is why it takes so long. And actually, the kind of art that we've done now takes a lot longer to do than the actual game design and the gameplay part. So in the next 6 months, I foresee like the gameplay coming in a lot faster. Basically, that's the plan, and I think it'll be good. So yeah, unfortunately, the art just it takes a long time. So Kelly asks about buses. What we can do with them. So buses, you can call the bus from here. Unfortunately, the buses won't run on schedule for now, in the sense that like you interact with this thing. I mean, okay, I have to debate this in my mind a little bit, because there are two ways of doing this. One is that the bus arrives on time, like once every 30 minutes there'll be a bus here, or you just interact with the thing here, and then you call the bus. I'm undecided which is better, because the scheduled bus arrival is a bit of a pain, because then the player will have to look at the time, and it just isn't as fun, in my opinion. And when there are traffic jams, it's gonna get messy, right? Because there will be traffic jams. We will add that as part of gameplay, so it will be a bit unreliable, and I just don't like that. It will be a little bit stressful. You can just get on the bus and you pay a fare every time you go places, basically. That's the direction that we're heading in for the buses. And we will add undergrounds. So for the buses, that isn't the main transport method. Well, it is if you don't have money, which is going to be the case for a while for players. So the bus is cheap to get around town. It's fine. But the underground is a little bit faster. And we will be having those way down the line, and they will operate faster. You go down like a escalator, and then you'll take the underground. And as the game gets bigger, you will need more and more transport, because running around will just be a little bit of a pain. I mean, you can run. Running increases your fitness level, by the way, so you can find a purpose to run around if you want. So you get experience for running later. So that's also good. Yeah, because we wanted a full traffic system, right? Where it does really mimic relatively reasonably real life. Is this the first time it's rained, by the way? I can't remember. Or am I wrong? Because anyway, it's raining. We've implemented the rain. I have asked Michelle to make adjustments on this rain because I feel like it's a little bit slow and there aren't enough splashes on the ground, so the rain will look better by the time you get to play it. But this is the rain. Yeah, this is the rain. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to see the splashes on the ground. You can kind of see them if you just zoom in. Yeah, you can see splashes, but I do feel like there are not enough of them. So we'll be adding more splashes. The rain will get a little bit faster. So we're a little bit off. And these are the tweaks that take the longest time. You know, like it's easy to add a rain, but it's hard to get all the sound effects and all the small details right, basically. And how does it impact gameplay? And yeah, when all of the well-being I added, don't run around in the rain without an umbrella, by the way, because you will get sick if you do it too much. There will be an umbrella in the game that you can use later, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, it is a little bit slow in the rain, so... Helicopter? Oh, Lil, I realized I didn't answer your question about Fantasy World. So, sorry, back to the last story of last time where, about 4 years ago, I tried to fund my own game for like a Pokemon game, and I wanted to call it Fantasy World, and I made it for like 2 months, and it just cost too much money, and I didn't really have the money to support it. So after about 2 months, sorry, I stopped making it basically. And obviously I didn't like do a Patreon or anything or Kickstarter. There's no way. Like it would have taken another like year and a half before I would have been willing to talk much about it. That is like a future plan of mine, that in maybe like 2 or 3 years, I do want to make a 2D monster catching game with a similar art style to Little Sim World. But yeah, so that will be down the line, like many years later. I think if Little Sim World does well, and I hope it does, we'll continue updating the game regardless. But I do want to have a second, like a second team to use Little Sim World art to create a Pokemon catching game, like a full-on RPG adventure type game. Obviously the gameplay would be entirely different. There won't be like well-being, and there won't be like, getting the bus to work. Like there won't be any of that. But yeah, I want to do the whole RPG monster catching vibe. That's what I'm looking forward to. Yeah. So that's the story. If you Google my name enough, you'll probably find like remnants of the old game, but that's a long time ago, and I just was messing around with it for about 2 months back then. Yeah, Little Fantasy. Well, that's a little bit long. I was thinking of calling it Little Pocket World. That was the plan for the name. So it's been about 2 hours now on the stream, and I think if anybody has any last questions, I'll be happy to answer them before we end this stream. I will put the stream up on YouTube. I'll just leave it public. That's fine. I didn't do it before, by the way, because I just didn't know how to do it on Twitch, and I'm a bit of a noob, so I couldn't figure out how to do all of those things. But I'm learning slowly, so I'll try and do a stream every month. Be fun to talk to you guys, about the updates and what you think of things. There is no helicopter. No, there's no helicopter. Oh god, George making up stories. No. There's no helicopter. Maybe one day, you know, maybe one day we'll do helicopter, but that would have to be like on the top of a building on a helicopter pad, and we have to add in like additional floors first. That will come later, like way down the line. Yeah, so I hope you've all enjoyed this stream, and I hope I've been able to answer some questions. And tomorrow this build will be live, so you can test out the arms. I'm very happy with this arm thing, and I'm so glad it's done. I'm very happy that we now have arms in the game. We have some complete characters, no more like... I didn't mind, to be honest, I never minded the old body, but some people, like a few people said they hated the arms, the hands, like you just had like floating hands. So we, you know, a lot of the reason why the old characters were so simple, it was because of it was just cheaper to do animations that way. It was just like a lot more simple to do animations, and we didn't really have like an experienced artist at the time. Like the original art we did that you guys probably haven't seen. I'll see if I can find them, you know, from 2 years ago. The art back then was a lot simpler, and it was very difficult to put out high quality art. So it was just the best we could do at the time. So I thought, okay, we'll just do it this way, and it was the best we could do. So now that the team's bigger and that we're more experienced in design and, you know, art in general, now we can just make the character look a lot better, basically. Yeah. I do want to release a lot of like some of the old art is online, but I do want to release like a lot more of them because we paid a lot of money for it. You know, I paid so much money for like the old art, you know, and in the end didn't even use it. You know, it makes me a little bit sad, but you know, that's the reality of making a game. You know, not everything can be used, and there's a huge amount of old art that I want to show you guys. And in fact, in one of the streams down the line, maybe I want to play like a really old version of the game, right? That's actually bigger than this, but it's really bad and the art is terrible, but it's worth showing you guys just for some laughs, and it'll be funny to watch. Yeah. So the game is looking better, yeah. Thank you for the compliment, Jonathan. Guys, completely honest, I'm like super nervous and self-conscious when I'm doing these streams, you know, because I always feel like, you know, it's very difficult to make it entertaining, you know, and get the right information out. And when I talk about like game design, sometimes I get a little bit like over passionate. So you know, so I try to structure it in a way, but hopefully I'll get better over time streaming and just talking about, you know, game progression and stuff like that, because, you know, since Patreon started, I'm pretty sure we've only done like 4 live streams. The first one was done when Hussein was still here, and then there was the second one, and then the third one was done in like December. We did the first 2 live streams like pretty close to each other, and we realized that we had nothing to say. I remember like we did the first live stream and we were super hyped about talking about the game, and then we planned the second live stream in like 3 weeks time, and we had nothing to talk about because the team was really small then. It was like 4 people or 5 people, and people didn't really like, they weren't even working full time, right? So in the next live stream it was awkward for us because we just felt like, well, we have nothing to say because we haven't really done that much. I mean, we have done a lot, but it's different because it's not that much to show, is what I mean. You know, it's very hard to do. We were just, and at that point I was like, okay, we have to slow the live streams down to like once every 2 months or something. Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. So thank you guys for the support. Like honestly, it really means a lot to me doing this, because you know, and with your support, it really means a lot, because it's really difficult to make a game without the support of you guys. You know, I've always seen myself as a reasonably stoic person, that I've always felt that, you know, if I can make something that's good, game or otherwise, right, that it's fine. But game development is a very tedious process. You know, Glenn, we were having a conversation the other day about, you know, making games, and you're basically making a game like in a vacuum, right? Where you're like in your room alone for like 10 hours, 12 hours a day, and you're doing this for years. And sometimes it's very difficult to know the right path to take, right? Sometimes you kind of lose focus of the big picture. And we've come a long way in these 2 years, I think. It's been quite challenging, but you know, without Patreon, honestly, what you see here just could not have been made. It just would have been impossible. So it's like a collective effort between everybody. So thank you all very much for the support. It really means a lot. Oh, Jonathan, you're the Dharma, the stonk snow. Yeah, okay, yeah. Now I know. Thank you for the support, Jonathan. You know, it's been it's been great in these past like year since Patreon started. I was surprised. You know, I honestly said to I remember saying to the team while I was talking to George about Patreon, I just wasn't convinced that we were going to get any support, and I said that, you know, if we can get 100 patrons in a year, I would have been happy. That genuinely, that was our belief. That's what we, you know, we were hoping for. That if we just had like 100 fans, you know, we would have been super happy. So our ambitions like it wasn't so high. Yeah, and like making a game alone is even harder. You know, with the team it gets a little bit easier, but it can be very difficult when everybody has a different vision. So it's important that everybody has the same like mindset, which is why I got a little bit like sidetracked earlier when I talked about previous developers that I work with, because I paid a lot of money for developers to work with me on the project, and they just weren't interested in delivering anything meaningful. They were just like, how much am I getting paid? When am I getting paid? When is the game going to get released? Are we going to get rich yet? Like, I gotta be honest, like 95% of game developers had that mentality, like programmers. I just, like, maybe I was unlucky, but, you know, I've talked to a lot of people, and I don't know what, like, that just bothers me a lot. And then so when I talk about this, I kind of get, you know, a little bit passionate about this topic, because I feel like the approach is wrong, you know. And so without the support on Patreon, like, the game would just be half of what it is now, you know. So, you know, so it's really, so like the support is a huge deal. Yeah, so that will be it for me for today. I think I'll try and make these streams that last about 2 hours, so I don't end up risking like repeating myself like 10 times, you know. So I have that habit of like saying the same thing over and over again. That's my own quirk, bad habit. But once again, you know, thank you very much for being here, and I hope to see everybody like in 3 weeks or a month's time before the next build, right? So then I can show you guys the next build, and then I'll show you the new features, and you can check it out, and then that will be a good conversation piece that we could have for next time. All right, bye now, and thanks for watching.